Howdy and welcome back to the channel. We'll be doing another episode of World in Flames Collector's Edition, Days of Decision 3, combined game playthrough number 3. Before we get going and take a look at starting money, I want to quickly review where the U.S. entry levels for the fascist powers are. Right now, Germany has a raw score. This is for the end of the May-June 1939 term. Germany has a raw score of 66, Italy has a raw score of 14, and Japan has a raw score of 58. Now, something to note about Japan is I had forgotten to take into effect that the second year of war, where there was supposed to be a +1 to the U.S. Entry rolls, and I hadn't taken that into account, so what it did is it moved. I look back and the total would have been adjusted by 4, so I have since adjusted Japan's total. So you take these raw scores and you plug them into the formula, and what we come up with is we have Germany's US entry is currently at 16.5, Italy's US entry is currently at -16.5, which is not unusual, and Japan's current US entry is 7.5. Now we look back to several turns ago, and we see that Germany's U.S. entry was 7, Italy's was -11, and Japan's was 5.5. So there's actually been some progress towards getting the U.S. entry up to 80 so that America can enter the war. I'm sure the fascists don't feel that way, but the Allies and maybe even the Soviets feel like that. I think that's probably, we're pretty close to historic norms, maybe. Maybe the Germans are a little bit ahead. I know the Italians are in the dump, but they don't do anything anyway, so politically, so they don't really generate any U.S. entry. Okay, I wanted to get that done. Now I think we'll go take a look at what the starting money is. This is going to be the July-August turn, so it might be an interesting turn. Starting money for the major powers. We have Germany at 5, Japan at -1, Italy at 0, the Soviets at 0, the Commonwealth at -1, France at 0, USA at 0, and China at -2. I took a look at what the major powers might want to bid on for political options, and I think we got 4 bidders. Yes, we do. We have 4 bidders. They're all bidding 1. Germany's bidding for 2 options. We'll see how that goes. So let's take a look at how this is going to shake out on the initiative position track. You got to keep in mind that both the Commonwealth and the United States got bonus bid points. So we have the Commonwealth is bidding 1. They're going to get a +6 for bonus bid points. They got a political effectiveness of 6 now, so from last turn they got a +6 for their bonus bid points. And their current 5th place position is going to give them a 2. That's a total of 9. That's easily going to get them first. The Soviets bid 1. They're getting a +4 for their current 1st place position. So that's going to give them a 5. That's going to give them 2nd place. The Soviets also have a declaration of war option due because of due to the border rectification declaration they made during the last turn. The U.S., where the U.S. is bidding 1, they got a total bonus bid point of 1 because their political effectiveness is 2, and a naval treaty drives it down to a 1, so they don't get much for that. And their current position is 4th, was 2, so that's going to give them a 4. That'll put them in at 3rd. Germany bid 1. They're going to get +3 for their 2nd place position. That's a 4. However, they're going for 2 options. They figure they'd probably be close to last, so they're going to try for 2 options. So that's 2. That's going to put them in at 4th. And the Commonwealth will be the first last card, and the Germans will be the last card. Now for the non-bidding major powers, we have Italy at +3. That's going to put them in at 5th. We have the Chinese and the Japanese tied at 1. However, China's political effectiveness is 1 and Japan's is 4. so Japan easily breaks that tie. So they'll be 6th. The Chinese will fall to 7th, and France is down there at 8th. So let's go take a look and see what the Commonwealth wants to do for a political option. The Commonwealth is going to offer the U.S. a level 2 treaty. This was supposed to be done in the opposite order last turn, but due to the political effectiveness of the Commonwealth versus the U.S., the order got switched, but the Commonwealth will just have to suck it up. I'm not going to do anything. If we get to the U.S. and they accept, it's going to cost 4 money. There's some minor effects here, and the U.S. entry will be a +3, and in addition to the treaty chart. So the only thing we're going to do is see if the Commonwealth ends the political phase. A 4 does not end the political phase. So we will continue on to the Soviets to see what they're going to do. And I already know what they're going to do. The Soviets are going to do their DoDIII, and of course I can't find it when I need it. Anyway, they're going to pay for their DoW. They don't get to activate a minor. They already paid the money. All the effects have already been put out, including the U.S. entry, so really don't have anything to do except have them roll to see if they end the political phase. So we'll roll a die. And we got an 8. So we will continue on to the U.S. Let me adjust the tracks and we'll be back in a second. Okay, the U.S. is going to play their O0F, agree to a proposal, and they will sign the level 2 treaty with the Commonwealth, which means that if war starts, now the U.S. can send Lend-Lease build points to the Commonwealth and build planes for them too. And okay, I got to put all the influence markers out for the Commonwealth, and when I come back, we'll have the Commonwealth activate a minor, and then we'll roll to see if the U.S. ends the political phase. Okay, I think the Commonwealth is going to activate Saudi Arabia, so grab the markers. We'll head over to the status display. See, the Saudi Arabia marker is just off from the center. We have a 2 Commonwealth and a 1 Italian. Well, the 1 Italian is going to do nothing. We'll get rid of that, and actually the Baltic States marker should be gone. The Baltic States don't exist anymore, and neither does Denmark. Okay, so now we got 2 Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is over here. Whoops. The Commonwealth is over here, and the Saudi Arabia marker is here, so we're just going to drag it 1 hex closer, and that's okay with the Commonwealth. We'll get that marker inside the Democrat ideology. We can make real progress with them. Okay, so let's see. The U.S. has to roll a die to see if they end the political phase. Let's see what they get. That is a 6. So the political phase will continue, and we'll go down to Germany and see what they want to do. Germany is going to declare war on the Netherlands. She meets the prerequisites, obviously, just like she did with Denmark. I'm going to apply the war chart, plus all these other minor effects right here. However, Germany does not get to activate a minor. Oh, and the U.S. entry is here, and the cost is 3. Keep in mind, the Netherlands is guaranteed by the Commonwealth. So this, either the Commonwealth could decide to ignore it, or this could be war, basically. So I'm going to come back after I put all those markers out. I'm going to roll a die to see if Germany ends the political phase, or they'll get a second option. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, got all the markers out, and now we'll see if Germany ends the political phase. There have been 3 previous political options played. A 7 does not do it. So Germany will get to play her second option, which she is going to play support Romanian land claims. Now let's see what this does. Alright. Okay, Germany will only play this option if GE13 has never been played and Germany's initiative is lower than any major power allied to Romania, Hungary, or Bulgaria. Well, the only one of those 3 that has an alliance with another major power is Hungary, and that's with Italy. And Italy's has a higher political initiative than Germany because she didn't bid this turn. Okay, so Romania allowed a Soviet land claim. Then Germany must already played before she may IPO 5 Romania. So what it does is it basically allows Romania to be aligned by Germany. She does have an alliance with Germany, and Romanian units will not be restricted from leaving Romania. So there's a little U.S. entry, there's 3 U.S. entry, and there's some minor power effects here. I'm going to take care of those, and when I come back, this is 7 money for this. When I come back, we will have Germany activate a minor, and then we will get right into taking a look at reinforcements and initiative and weather and all that good stuff. Okay, let's take a look at reinforcements for the July-August term. We have several Japanese reinforcements. We have a militia unit, Kyoto, I believe. We have a infantry corps, not a bad one, a 5-3. We have a Japanese fighter and a Japanese tactical bomber. Tactical bomber is actually half decent, so I think both of those are going to go on the map. I'll just reduce the pilots right now. We have a Commonwealth fighter and a pretty good one, and a Commonwealth tactical bomber. And I think both of those are going to go on the map. And we also have a Commonwealth cruiser. Oh, we got a Commonwealth pilot. We'll set that aside. We'll add the pilot. And then we got a bunch of infantry, I believe. We have a German infantry corps, an Italian infantry corps, and another Siberian for the Russians. Oh, we got some French. Let's not be undone with the French here. Oh, we got a headquarters unit and a pretty decent fighter. So that fighter is definitely going on map. And we also got a motorized corps and a garrison unit. So the French are actually getting a pretty big chunk of troops this turn. I think they might need them. The Soviets also got a motorized division and a motorized army, as well as a convoy point. The U.S. is getting 4 convoy points. That's pretty good for them. Probably going to need that to help out in Europe. Oh, and the Commonwealth gets the Queens. Another transport. And we got some ships here for the Germans. A heavy cruiser, a Commonwealth heavy cruiser, and American, the Houston heavy cruiser, as well as the Red Sea flotilla for the Italians. We got another Japanese little carrier, CVL. We have the North Carolina for the Americans, a nice battleship. We have a, what is that? The Indomitable carrier going in the construction pool for the Commonwealth. And we have the Victorious, a carrier going on map for the Commonwealth. So that'll do it for the reinforcements. Let's go take a look at rolling the initiative for this turn. This might actually be pretty important, or it might not. Let's see, we got red is communist, blue is Democrat, and the white is the fascists. I don't think the fascists won that one. Well, actually, they get a +2, and the other 2 get -1s. So that's a 5, and that's a 4. So they tied with the Democrats And they were last turn, so they get to choose. So they are going to go first this turn. And the Democrats and the Communists, I think the Communists would like to go before the Democrats. Or, no, the Democrats would like to go before the Communists. And the Communists will go last. I think they'll agree to that. And the next thing we have to do is leave my weather chart at the other side of the table. We have to roll for weather. There's no modifier for this die roll. This is going to be the January-February turn. And we'll roll a die and see what we get for weather. That is a 5. So 5 in July, August is fair everywhere, storm and north monsoon. Impulse marker moves up 1. And no modification to the die roll for next turn. So I'm going to get the reinforcements on the map. And we're going to come back with the first set of impulses. Okay, so we're on the first fascist impulse. Germany is going to take a full land impulse. Now, she's not at war with anybody except the Netherlands. However, the Netherlands has a guarantee, so that allows a major power that declares on a minor that has a guarantee or an alliance to take a full land impulse. They don't have to take combined. The Japanese also are taking a full land impulse. I've already done all their movement over there. And we'll get to that shortly after we do this over here. So I'm going to take a look at this in detail. See how this is going to get done. Let's see. Let's strip the planes off. Actually, let's do a ground assault first. A ground attack first. So the fighter can't come up and meet us because it's a surprise attack turn. So we're going to use that 2. Should I use 2 2s? Nah, I'm just going to use 1. I think I'm just going to use 1. I want to save some of the German air power for later in the turn because I think it might be important. So we're just going to use that. I think it's going to be a 10-1 anyways, but whatever. Okay, it's going to be 2 dice for each unit. Because it's a surprise attack turn. So the air unit misses, and the ground unit misses. So that was completely useless. I wasted my air unit for nothing. Oh, whatever. Alright, so now we got land movement. All this stuff here is going to get overrun. There's no land units, so I'm going to have to roll for those. Because they're surprised. So, 2. 3. 3. 2. 2, 3, 4. I think that's going to do it. He's got 4 factors there. And 12 is 44, which is an 11-1. That's going to be an automatic. So that will be an automatic 10-1. I don't think the plane can go anywhere because it has nowhere to land this turn. So it also is going to get lost. So 10-1 on the assault table is star 2S. They are dead. The reserve unit won't be able to be deployed. And all I'll have to do, okay, these units are going to occupy the hex, and the Netherlands will be conquered. And all I'll have to do is roll for the naval units. I'll do that off camera. Let's skip over to Asia, see what we got over there. Okay, we have an attack. We have one attack. We have a 3-to-1. I think we're going to bombard with the artillery. So that's a die roll of a 2. Die roll of a 2. Well, an 8 don't cut it. So the artillery did not succeed in its bombardment this turn. Now the next question is, do the Japanese use HQ benefits? 3-to-1 on the assault table. Yeah, I would say so. So we're going to use HQ benefits. That's going to give us a +1. Let's roll a die. Oh, that's a pretty good roll. That is a 7. 7 + 1 is 8. Dash 1S. So the Chinese unit is destroyed. However, unfortunately for the Japanese, they're all going to be turned face down, which is really not going to help them in their offensive this turn. So let's see, that's going to be turned face down anyway, so we'll move him there. All these are face down. Yeah, that definitely did not help the Japanese cause. Do I move the headquarters? Yeah, I think. Yeah, we will. And these guys as well are turned face down. I guess I'll just have to do with killing a single Chinese unit. But they have given the Chinese quite the dilemma right now. They basically got a breach in their line and not a whole lot to fill it in. So it should be interesting as far as that goes. And I think that will do it for the... Oh, I got to roll for the Netherlands ships. I'll do that off camera, and we'll come back with the Democrat impulse. Now we are at the Democrats impulse, and the Commonwealth has a decision to make. The Netherlands had a guarantee under the Commonwealth, and that gives the Commonwealth a casus bellum against Germany. And it's a reason to declare war. If the Commonwealth doesn't support the Netherlands, there's a lot of minus political things that happen to both her allies, and there's a bunch of minuses. It's not really a good thing, but you can actually survive it as a major power. I think the Commonwealth and the French, I think they've decided that, yeah, they gotta take a stand here, because the Germans are just gonna roll through Belgium next turn, or the turn after, or next set of impulses, or the set of impulses after that. So the Commonwealth's going to declare war. They're going to use a casus bellum, so it will be half the U.S. entry. And since France is a level 3 treaty partner of the Commonwealth, she's also going to declare war on Germany. So I got to note all that down, put out the political effects of all that, and when I come back, we'll have the first set of impulses, or the first impulses for the Commonwealth and for the French. I just want to note real quick before I put them out, so you get a chance to see what it actually is. But both the Commonwealth and the French, since they're going to war with a major power, will be able to call out their reserves. That's this stack for the Commonwealth and this stack for the French. And the reserves are deployed face down, but nevertheless they will be deployed on the map this impulse. Okay, I went through the Democrats' first impulse, and the Chinese have decided to fall back. straighten their line a little bit more. It was kind of bulging out a little bit. And they figure with the rain in this area, this is the perfect time to move units like this. This 141. It's going to flip no matter what, so why not move it in the rain? And the units from here went to here. It's a clear hex, so there was no penalty for that. Actually, they might have flipped too. I think they both did. Yeah, they both should have flipped. Because it's 2 for the hex. But because of rain, it becomes 4. But that's okay. Because the Japanese units on this line are all flipped over, so they're not going to do anything. That was very, 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 very fortunate for the Chinese. Space and time for bodies. Okay, over here, the Democrats. The French kind of building a line. The Commonwealth did a naval. They got their fleet out in the North Sea. And a bunch of transports with them. And they're going to be transporting the BEF to the continent. As well as getting convoy escorts everywhere that the Germans might go. And that's the end of the first set of impulses. And I'll roll a die to see what the weather's going to be for the next set of impulses. The Germans will have to decide if they're going to go into Belgium or not. Or just wait, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Weather roll. Weather roll is a whopping 10. And 10 actually is not good weather. Oh no, I'm wrong. It's fair everywhere except north monsoon is storm. However, the impulse marker does move up 1. However, there is a +1 to the next weather die roll. Wouldn't that be hilarious if the weather roll came up snow? Okay, so the Germans are now at war with a major power, 2 of them, so they get to call their reserves, which is this stack right here. I'm going to deploy them and do the movement. I don't think they're going to declare war on Belgium. I think they might wait and let the Commonwealth do whatever it's going to do. They don't, we'll see. We're going to wait right now. So I'll be back in a second. Germany has decided not to declare war on Belgium. Instead, she's going to align Sweden, Finland, and Romania. All 3 of those miners are going to be aligned. I got to dig them out of the force pool bags and put the ones that are next year or beyond in the cups for Germany. And it's also going to be some U.S. entry. And so I'm going to record all that. And when I come back, we'll take a look at what the Japanese are also gonna, don't really think they're gonna move too much because it's still storm down in the north monsoon and most of their other stuff is flipped over, so excuse me. So I'll be back probably with the Democrats set of impulses to see what they're gonna do. And I'll be back in a second. Okay, at the end of the fascist impulse, the Germans had Rundstedt reorg 4 units within his range, 2 here and 2 here. And I flipped him over. And then we went on to the Japanese didn't do anything. Then we went on to the Democrats, and the Commonwealth decided to align Belgium. So I put the units on. At the Commonwealth debarked their land forces in Amsterdam, with one of them going to Calais. The French have moved up. There are 2 HQs here, so they meet the foreign troop commitment. I think that's it. And then went on to the communists, and over in China. In China we had actually the Democrats did do something over here. They moved a unit up here, flipped it over, and over here you can see the communists have actually fallen back. So I don't know, lack of units or something is definitely starting to hurt the Chinese, and they're having to give up hexes because their line is getting stretched pretty bad. Okay, we're back to the fascious impulse for the next set of impulses. This will be the 7th impulse, and I have to roll a die for weather. Gotta find the weather chart. Alright, the weather is going to be a 10, which is an 11. Ooh, rain in the Arctic, fair, storm, rain. Actually, the weather's getting crappy. Believe it or not. I'm going to mark that down, and we'll come back with the fascious impulse. Okay, we're back to the fascious impulse. So the Germans spent offensive points to reorg or unflip Rundstadt, and we're going to have a 4-to-1 attack right here. There are no Commonwealth ground support anywhere is available. Might have been a mistake on the part of the Commonwealth, and I don't think the French can support them. Don't think they can. Anyway, I don't think that's a hill that, oops, I moved all my air units where they're not supposed to be. Supposed to be there, supposed to be there, supposed to be there. Okay. Oh, and I got a couple more over here, which are not supposed to be there. I think he's here. He's there. Okay. All right, so it's 4-to-1. I don't think the French want to die on that hill. I don't think they can do it. They might make it a 3-to-1 on the Blitzkrieg table. At the best. Yeah, we're going to let them have it. 4-to-1 with a +1. We'll roll a die, see what happens. Okay, let's get the chart. Let's see what. Let's grab this. All right, we're gonna roll a die up here because I ain't no place else to roll it. All right, 4-to-1 +1. 8, which is a 9. 8, which is a 9. Star 1B. So that is a blitz. Result 1B means one Belgian unit dies, the other one is shattered. We'll let the cav die. We'll shatter the infantry. Maybe he can come back. Maybe he can't. I didn't know. But the Germans will get to occupy the Hex. I think Rundstadt would definitely like to go in there. And probably the 9-4. Oh, the 8-6, yeah. The 8-6 definitely wants to go in there. Alright. Don't think there's any other attacks. I don't think they want to go after this. They're all halved right now, so that's probably not a good idea. I'm going to leave it like that. And the French are probably going to have to patch a hole or two. But it doesn't look too bad as far as the Germans are concerned. And we'll over in China, we had some retreating and we had some advancing. Unfortunately, the advancing all had to flip over, so it's pretty much going to end Japanese activity at this point. So we will move on to the Democrats' impulse. There's no chance the turn's going to end. Let's see what the Democrats can do. I think I'll record this. Yeah, the dice out of the way here. All right. So I think we're going to take this and move it here. Oh, the Commonwealth will take a land. Move that there. I think we're going to, when the time comes, we're going to rebase these two to Calais so we can get some support. Actually, we'll rebase that to there. Oh, we'll rebase them all to Lille when the time comes. Now over here, French will also take a land. He's going to move there. He's going to move there. He's going to move there. And I think we're kind of looking okay. I think this artillery. Where's my other artillery? Oh, yeah, it's right here. Okay, well, I think we're going to move him here. Yeah, we're going to move him here. Leave that like that for now. I think that looks good. Nothing going on down here. I can't get any of the reserves. I can send a transport to Dakar. And next turn he can pick up that guy and bring him. If the French last that long, who knows? All right. All right. I think that's it for the Democrats. Communists, yeah, they might move some units, but it's not really important. And we'll move back to the fascist. And we'll have to roll weather and see what that's going to look like. Let's make the weather roll. I'm running out of places to roll dice without scattering counters all over the place. All right, weather roll. Oh, hey, what do you know? Must be like good weather or something now. Fair weather everywhere. Even with the +2, no. Rain and north monsoon. Fair weather everywhere else. No more pluses to the weather die roll. And the impulse marker will move up 1. Alright, we'll come back. I got to take a look at this and see if the Germans are going to get an attack in. I would say probably. And we'll go from there. Okay, the fascist impulse. Germany took a land impulse, and they had to think about it for a while because they had 2 possible options to go here. The first option is this one here. It's a 3-to-1 against a stack of French troops in a forest hex, or 4-to-1 here against Belgian and British. There's an anti-aircraft unit under there. But there's also a flipped unit under there. So they would have had a 4-to-1 +1 here. They would have to get at least 1 bomber through with 2 factors to make it 4-to-1. Over here, it's going to be a 3-to-1. I don't think the French can change it. There's 48 factors. So even if they added their 2-point bomber, it would be 15 to 48, which is still 3-to-1. Right now it's 13 to 48. So I don't think the French are going to allocate any aircraft. I think the Germans originally were just going to go for this one and try to knock Belgium out. But there's French aircraft that can fly to aid the British unit there. Plus all the British aircraft. I don't know if the Germans could quite handle that. They'd have to get at least 1 aircraft through to attempt a ground strike, and then they'd have to get at least another aircraft through with 2 points to aid in the ground assault. So instead, I think what they really would rather do is kill some French units. So they're going to go 3-to-1 here on the Blitzkrieg table. They're going to use HQ benefits from this HQ in this stack. And the French are going to use their HQ benefits from this HQ in this stack. So it's basically going to be a 3-to-1 straight up on the Blitzkrieg table. Let's roll a die. See what happens. Holy cow. Wow, the Germans can't get any luckier. That is a 10. That's a 10. That's just, I don't know. Get lucky when you need it, I guess. 3-to-1 on the Blitzkrieg table, a 10. Well, it isn't as great as it could be. It's a star 1B. So 1 French unit will be destroyed, 2 will be shattered, and the Germans will, none of the Germans are flipped over except the 1 HQ. and the Germans will be able to blitz beyond that hex, because the next hex they can move into costs only 1 point. So let's see, what are we going to destroy? I think the infantry unit's going to be destroyed. And the headquarters, Predelat and the artillery are going to come back next turn. Those two are shattered. And now, gotta figure this out with the Germans here. Who's gonna go where, do what. I'll be back in a second with that. So that was a big wow on that attack. A 10. I still don't kind of believe it myself right now. But this is going to present the democracy as a bit of a problem. I'm going to have to think about what we're doing in this area right here. Obviously, we got to try to seal this breach right here, which is going to be a little bit problematic. But so I'm going to take a look at that. Probably going to have to think about it a little bit, and I'll come back with a review. Obviously, there's not going to be any counterattacks because I don't even think I can get better than a 3-2 on that unit, which it's in this German air power in the neighborhood. And the breakthrough, which went into this hex, displaced an air unit which went back to Paris, is now flipped over. So the French actually lost a ability to use another air unit, which is really going to hamper their efforts if they want to make a counterattack. 3-2, well, 1, 2, 3, 40% chance of doing something. They still have, the Germans still have an HQ here, which is Runestadt, which is a 4, which probably will outgun anything the French have. Yeah, and a 2, so that's actually going to give that hex a -1. So that's a 30% chance of succeeding, 60% chance of failing, and all the French units would be flipped over. Yeah, I don't think a counterattack is warranted. But I will try to address this situation best I can, and come back with a quick review of what the democracies did. Okay, I finished up the democracies impulse, and we kind of managed to plug up the breach, though this hex right here is really weak. That was the only thing that we could get there. But the Germans will only have 1 hex to attack from. It'll maybe maybe a 4-1 maybe, and they're not going to go far. They can't blitz here, they can't blitz there. This up here, however, has kind of been weakened into a 1 hex line. There's 8 to 9 points in each hex, but again, it's fairly weak, so I think if the Germans push it a little bit, they might be able to breach it, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. The Democrats are done. They have to roll a die to see if they end the impulse. Boy, wouldn't that be something. Democrats end the impulse. Now, they got a 9. I don't know if you can see that in there. That's a 9, so they do not end the impulse. So we move on to the communists. The communists aren't really doing much of anything. The communist Chinese are kind of good where they are. They really don't want to go any further than they are right now. No, they don't have an attack. I was looking at 1 hex over there that has some flipped Japanese units in it, but it's in a mountain. I think it would be at 1-1 at best. So I don't want to risk that, and so it's really basically gonna just bide their time over there in China. So the communists are done. We will roll a die to see if they end the turn. A 7, no. So I'll move back to the fascists. The fascists have to roll weather. Let's make a weather roll for the fascists. A 5. I think that's the same weather as last turn. 5. Oh, no. The rain and north monsoon flipped the storm. So but everything else is the same. Impulse marker moves up 1. No modifier to the weather roll. So I'm going to have to take a look at this from the German perspective, because there are a number of opportunities like here, 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 that the Germans are going to have to take a look at and see, maybe even this hex, see what they want to do. So I will be back in a few seconds, and then we'll see how the Germans are going to try to exploit this situation. Okay, first thing in the impulse that the Germans did is they unflipped the HQ here, von Lieb, cost them 4 offensive points. And second thing they're doing is they're going to ground strike this hex right here, which is Gort and a motorized core. So of course the British are going to intercept that, or the Commonwealth rather. They're going to intercept that with their Hurricane, which is a pretty damn good fighter. And the Germans are going to counter-intercept with 2 fighters. So we're going to have an air battle here. Get the fighter streams, the single bomber stream, sort of, kind of. So we have 5 to 4.3, which is going to be a +1, -1 on the dice rolls. So the Commonwealth will be the first to roll. And that is on the +1 table. And a 14 is not a bad roll. DA, defender abort front fighter or front bomber. While the Germans will abort their front fighter. The Germans counterattack. They get a 13, a -1, which is a dash. Okay, we'll keep going. Now it's going to be +2, -2. I grab the dice. The Commonwealth is on the +2 table. They roll a 8. Defender abort front fighter or front bomber. Well, they'll abort their front fighter again. What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. That is a 7. That is attacker abort. Attacker abort front fighter, front bomber. So in this case, the Commonwealth will abort the Stuka. The Germans get to roll and reply. They roll a 13, which is a really bad roll on the -2. 13 is attacker clears through. Oh, too late. They could have cleared through their bomber, but unfortunately the Commonwealth had already aborted it. So there will be no ground strike there. But the fighters are all exhausted. And aborted. So they're all basically done. And I think I'll put them all right here in this. Well, they're going to all end up. Let's go back to the front. All the German fighters and bombers are going to end up in this hex. Just going to set them aside for now. So the Germans have 2 attacks. They're going to have a 6-1 here and a potential 5-1 here. They get 1 air mission, so they're going to fly this fighter and the bomber there. And I think the Commonwealth is going to try to fly ground support with their 2 bombers. So again, we're going to have a bomber stream. Actually, the Commonwealth bomber cannot be aborted. All the Commonwealth is hoping is to get one of those 2 bombers through. And if they do that, then it will change the odds from 5-1 to 4-1. And I lost a die. Oh, it's way over there. Alright, so The Germans will roll first. They are on the +3. +3 table, which is +2, +3. It's the same thing. 20 is pretty much, I blew them out of the air. AX. So that first British unit is gone and the pilot is dead. The British get to roll back on the -3. They roll a 9, which is going to be pretty much nothing. A -3, a 9. Attacker clears through any one bomber. Well, attacker clears through anyone defending bomber. Oh, so they did get a bomber through. Yep, they got a bomber through. So that's going to change the odds to 4-1. They lost the bomber, but they managed to get one through. Now we're going to do HQ support. I think the Germans will use Runstadt for support. He's a 4. I don't think the Commonwealth is going to use Gort because it won't make a difference. Back to the front line here. Using Gort won't make a difference because 4 minus 2 is 2, divided by 4 is 0.5, rounds to a 1. So it's going to be a 1 anyways. So we're not going to use Gort. This guy's got to go home somewheres. I think we'll put him right here. So alright, so let's start with this right here. We have an assault on Metz. And we will use HQ support. That's von Lieb again. That's going to give him a +1. Plus it's flipped over. That's a +2. But I believe there is a factory there. Yes, that's going to be a -1. So that nets out to a 6-1. Ends up defaulting to 5-1 with a +1. We'll roll the die. And that becomes a 3. That is a /1, which is all the German units are going to be flipped over, but the hex is taken. The hex is taken. The French unit is destroyed. But the Germans are all going to be flipped over. Which I'm sure that doesn't really make the Germans too happy at this point. But they can occupy the hex, definitely. Oh, that's going to be flipped. These are flipped. That's 2, actually. That rolling a 2 was actually pretty fortunate for the French. Alright, now we go to the 4-1, which almost ended up being a 5-1, but now is a 4-1, thanks to the brave British bomber crews. Alright, we'll roll this die. Well, that's a little bit better. That is a 6. I don't know if you can see that. That's a 6. So that's going to be a +1, -1. That's a plus. That actually ends up netting out to be a 7. 7 is cross 1S. So one unit is lost, the other one is shattered. And half the German units will remain face up. But the hex will fall. Let's see. Okay, the British bomber got to go somewheres. I think he's going to fly back. I think they're both going to go back to the Commonwealth because I don't know what's going to happen in here now. Let's see. Those are 2 Belgian units there. Yeah, they probably ain't coming back. We got a bomber that's going to land here, I think. So we can occupy the hex. And half the units remain face up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that'll do it. I can't blitz because it wasn't on the blitz table. And actually, let's leave this one back. Flip him over, and instead of have the armor flipped over, let's put the armor in that hex. And I think that's good just like that. I think that's good just like that. Oop, you didn't get to see that. So I flipped Runestad over, and these two units got flipped over. And so that, let's see, what else is flipped? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there were 8 units total. I'd have 4 flipped over. 1, 2, 3. I think the mountain unit will be flipped over and left behind. All these air units. See, the Germans are actually running out of impetus right now because a lot of their army is ending up being flipped over. So that's actually what happens. The Germans are pretty much done. So you can do some reorganization. I got to think about that. There's one more HQ that's available to use. It's right here. That is Bach. He can reorganize 3 units, I think, or 6. I'll have to go take a look. But I got to think about that for a minute. Okay, the Germans did expend von Bach to reorganize a unit here, here, and here. They're all within range of him, so he can be reorganized. And the last thing for the fascists to do is roll a die to see if they end the impulse. They have rolled an 8, so we will keep right on a trucking. Now the Democrats are up. Now the Democrats got to take a serious look at this. They know the Germans still have 10 offensive points left. So they could reorganize Runestad in von Lieb again. So we're going to have to keep that in mind. And we're going to have to do something about the line again and see what we can do. But I'll be back with a summary. Obviously, there's not going to be any counterattacks. I'll be back in a second. The Democrats have ended their impulse. Commonwealth moved basically brought their units from here back up into here, split Gort and the motorized corps, and kind of basically defending each hex. The original thought was to fall back out of Belgium and just form a line right here. But it's still 4 hexes. Still 4 hexes. And this is more forward. We want to keep the Germans as far out of France as possible. We looked at the Maginot line, and there's so many German units flipped over down here. Yes, they can reorganize von Lieb, and he can reorganize 2 other units, but then he's flipped over again. So I don't really see them being able to, at this point, do much of anything. The Germans might be able to take this hex here, but go for it. I think we're good with that right there. So the last thing the Democrats are going to do is we're going to roll a die and see if we end the impulse. The French are praying for a 2. And the 5 is not a 2, so we'll move on to the Communists. The Communists are going to try to do a big favor for the Democrats. The Communists are going to pass. And that means the die roll will be a 3 to end the impulse. And we did indeed get a 3. So that will be the end of this turn. Now the French are so grateful that the turn ended, because should the Germans have gotten another impulse, they probably would have cracked that line wide open. And then the French would have been in real trouble. But we have to roll for partisans, U.S. entry. The partisan rule, let's see what that's going to be. Let's see what we got here for partisans. Wrong table, it's over here. No, that's a 9. Burma, well, no, China. China could have a partisan. There are no hexes outside of a zone of control of a Japanese unit, so there will be no partisans in China. And I think that's it. Oh, we got to do U.S. entry. Now, so I can remind myself, there's no modifier to this die roll. And we rolled a 2, which is going to be a -1. There's the die roll. That will be a big old -1 for the Japanese U.S. entry. I'm sure Japan's happy about that. So I got to go through both Europe and Asia and reorganize everything and return to base any ships. And come back. I'll come back with production. We'll go over that real quick. And that will probably do it for this turn. Production for this turn. Germany's production has gone up to 20. And she did save an oil. And her starting production total, or the starting money for this turn's production, is 2. And she spent 0. Japan produced 11, started with 10, and spent 10. Let's see, she's finishing a carrier, pulled a ship out of the repair pool, laid down a transport, building an HQ, and a CAD unit. Let's see, the Italians produced 7, started with 7, and spent 7. Pulled the Carrio Duilio out of the repair pool, building a pilot, laying down a battleship, and laying down a cruiser. I believe that is a cruiser. Yes. Okay, Soviets. The Soviets produced 8, started with 7, and spent 7. A convoy point and 2 infantry armies. One of them a Siberian. Imagine that. The Commonwealth. The Commonwealth produced 13 because they did not save an oil. Then they got 1 Lend-Lease from the United States because they have a level 2 treaty. And they started with -6 and spent 0. They're trying to dig themselves out of the hole. The French produced 5, which is a decrease because they lost mechs and a resource. They got 2 cadres, so they started with 7 and they spent 8. They are building 2 militia, an infantry corps, and a fighter. The U.S. Produced 10, sent out 2 with Lend-Lease, and started with 7. And spent 6. They are laying down a carrier and 4 convoy points. China produced a total of 8. They got 1 Lend-Lease and 1 cadre. They started with 6 and they spent 6. 2 infantry armies. One of them a communist Chinese infantry army. And that's going to do it for production for this turn. And I will get this turn put together and uploaded shortly. And I will see. And thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.